Dan,
Hello.
Josh,
Hello.
you alumni of BeerCon3, both. So
Indeed.
what we thought we'd do is listen to your testimonies around what's happened to you both in the year past since we did the last conference, because I know that things have changed for you guys, particularly around the stuff you've been doing, Josh. I don't know if you could just tell the viewers, are probably confused, but who do you work for?
And test people if they can't see.
So I think we'll start with you, Josh. I know quite a lot of this story because we chat all the time.
Yeah.
Right? Mostly about Leeds United. But tell us about your journey since this time last year.
Yeah, so it's been a long, interesting journey. But obviously this time last year, BeerCon, I was just starting out at MCC in the SOC, if that makes sense. So at the SOC, started out there, 12-hour shifts. It was, what?
That's fine. We're just asking for a little bit
Oh.
more in the monitors.
All right, that's fair.
We couldn't hear you very
All
well.
right, I can move closer if that. So started out my first role at NCC SOC, and then after 11 months there and most of the months on shift work, it was very tiring. So it was time for a change, and I moved to the opposite role, the opposite team of most of the beer farmers. We moved into the red team life, and it's been good so far. I've been enjoying it, and I'm learning a lot. I have in both roles, to be honest with you. That's sort of what I've been up to, really. I've been here about 4 months now, and I've spent most of my time on internal assessments and some wireless assessments. So I'm starting to see a lot of interesting stuff, and hopefully one day I can get enough interesting stuff built up and get a proper in-person talk built.
Fantastic. I've got a question for you. So increasingly we're seeing, or maybe not increasingly, maybe it's always been the case, but we're seeing people that spend time in the blue team or in the defender space, but then often a quite short period of time decide they want to move into the attacker, the red team sort of space. So what was the thought process behind that for you?
The thought process was, well, I've seen one side of it. It's going to develop me a lot better within my career, seeing the other side of it. I could have stayed and developed internally within NCC, but again, sometimes moving to that smaller company and being able to get a few more learning, closer dealing with more people is beneficial to certain people. The thought process also kind of went around, well, I know what a defender would say, so it adds a lot more perspective when I'm going into an assessment, and I'm able to recognize some sort of stuff a lot better.
Yeah, that sounds reasonable. And in terms of your new role, I know you can't talk about it in a lot of detail, but of the things you can discuss, can you give us a flavour of some of the more interesting assignments or engagements that you've experienced?
Yeah, so obviously, as you said there, client names are obviously out the window, but I have been on wireless assessments with minimal encryption. I've just seen Ian in front of the camera there. Yeah.
Sorry about that.
He's looking well though. Yeah, I've seen a lot of internal misconfigurations on both sides, to be fair. A lot of the same sort of stuff that you hear about day in, day out, user passwords and service accounts and accounts not being managed and things not being set up correctly, and backup servers being put in the corner and forgot about, and then 10 minutes later after an assessment, you're able to do a directory traversal on them and pull a password, etc. shadow file and that sort of stuff. So I have seen really interesting stuff. I mean, I did see some interesting stuff in terms of defending at NCC with that sort of way. But some of the groups there, again, and some of the targets, I can't really disclose, unfortunately.
Of course. Yeah. So I guess it's red team life for Josh going forward.
Well, with a bit of blue team mixed in, maybe.
Yeah.
We have.
It's like you say, having that appreciation of both sides of the fence, isn't it? And you get into an almost purple team mentality.
Yeah, it definitely makes the one. It definitely contributes to each side. Definitely, I would recommend, even though sock life is tough and you've got to be of a proper mindset to keep at it for a good while, you've got to look after yourself. If you can do that and you can see how APTs and actual nation states are attacking, well then you can go and say to a client, well, if you implement this SOC, this Splunk rule, or this rule or this registry key, it will aid your defense against this.
Yeah, 100%. It's interesting in the beer bus that we took down to London, or brought down to London yesterday. One of the passengers made an interesting observation that everyone wants to be a pen tester. You go, right, that's 5% fun and 95% report writing, okay? But it's moving into everyone wants to be incident response. I want to be doing IR. That's great. So that's 5% action and 95% report writing at 3 a.m.
Yeah.
So I think there are a lot of misconceptions about how cool professional cybersecurity roles are in general. And I talk about it a lot at work, that we do a little bit of chasing the bad guy around the internet, but the rest of it is operational security and all that kind of stuff. Dan, so, hi mate. So when we last spoke to you, or at least when you last spoke to us, you were talking about an analogous world around the links between cybersecurity and underaged, clandestine live music performance. And that was a brilliant talk. Tell us about your last year.
Oh.
And unmute yourself.
Muted, man. Yeah.
We have no control over that.
Yeah, that one's not me.
I've been silenced by myself. It's been a huge year, to be honest. It's like kind of like going through and thinking. But the main thing was, I think I was studying for my masters. That didn't quite work out. Still finished with Napier with a postgraduate certificate. So that's all right. Actually moved to a different job in Mimecast. So I was working kind of not really in cybersecurity at all when I was working in the search team. I now work in the secrets team, which I can't really say a lot about because it's a secret. Other than it's kind of working, still in a dev role, but working with cryptography and, some pretty cool kind of security-based stuff. And it's actually kind of a lot more interesting for me, I think. Obviously did a talk at Conn, where I had to try and eat some Marmite. I don't know how you do it, Mike. And the main things,
wonderful stuff.
It's horror disgusting. Cyber House Party did that. The Obicon DJ'd there as well. And the InfoStep thing that I've been doing for, nearly 6 months now, just raising money for Innocent Lights Foundation and the Cyber Helpline. And just doing not really actual work, but kind of stuff around stuff and just like raising money and just partying, really. It's not a bad life.
Dan, it's Ian here. I got a question for you,
Sure.
mate. So, featuring prominently on your Instagram is a set of peer ruins, I guess. Like it used to be a peer or something like that. Have you researched the history of that thing that features so prominently in your Instagram?
What, the West Pier? Yeah.
Yeah, what's that about?
It's my favourite landmark. Don't say it's a sea mark, it's a landmark. Right, anyway. It's basically the West Pier is like it used to be around before the Christ Pier, and then it got basically blown up. Well, not blown up. It got firebombed in like the late '90s when it was kind of falling apart. No one really knows how, but it was mysteriously firebombed when somebody couldn't get planning permission because they realised it was a listed building, and that's all. None of it's related. But that's what happened.
So it wasn't like the Germans or something during the war.
No. We're talking like the 70s. I mean, it could be like the Russians, really. No, it's not the Russians. Don't worry. But yeah, no.
APT 25 and a half.
Yeah, but I love it as a landmark because it's like absolutely falling apart. Like you look at it from one angle, you can see that it's like no base structure whatsoever. It's kind of just falling into the sea bit by bit. But I quite like that it stayed on for like, decades or tens of decades and still kind of stands there. And it was actually quite nice going past it, especially when I broke, before I even met you guys, I've broken my foot, like every bone in my foot at one point. And like, it was actually quite good to see, if that can still stand, you can kind of get over that kind of thing. And it kind of, during lockdown as well, had a bit of a kind of nice message around like, you can still, that still goes, you can keep going. Just, I think like things like that, you find little things like that, it helps with your mental health and can, really help you through some really horrible stuff, really.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
All right, so we're just running over slightly, but it's not your fault. It's on us, this one. But we just want to thank you for sharing your stories from the past 12 months. And cheers, guys.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks a lot.
It's amazing to see you guys looking so great.
Thanks a lot. See you tomorrow.
See you.
All the best. Oh, and finally, before we go, just a quick shout out to Pentest people again for
Thanks for the huge sponsorship.
for giving us that massive check. Wonderful. You're very kind. We love you very much.
I think Dan should drop his Instagram now, and everyone should go look at the pier.
Yeah,
100%.
Dan, drop your Instagram into the Twitch chat so everyone can follow you.
Will do.
And Josh, drop your Twitter handle in
Sound
as well.
will do. Cheers.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks a lot.
Thanks,
guys.
guys.
We love
Thanks
you.
for having us.